It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara here in extended breaking news mode. All the hostages being released by Hamas, all of them now in Israeli hands. That's all 20 of them. They say 26 to 28 remains of other hostages will be released later on this afternoon. It's been quite a morning here. Just some audio from Israeli families with the first release of the first 7 hostages earlier. Oh, they're so excited.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just unbelievable morning. I mean, from the and still more to come. The substance of the first part of the peace deal has been done. The substance is there. I'm getting from Reuters here that the Palestinian prisoners have been released as part of the deal.
Yeah, right.
That comes from Reuters. We knew they were in the process. Reuters is saying they have been released in the headline that I'm looking at right now. I don't have the story beneath it at the
CNN
moment.
reporting as part of the first phase of the U.S. ceasefire agreement, 250 Palestinian prisoners serving life sentences will also be released. And so that seems to be kind of the language being used here when it comes to the Palestinian prisoners. But the news out of Israel that all 20 living hostages have been released are now in the hands of the Israelis, 7 of whom are back in Israel at a military base, at a hospital on that base, and the other 13 are en route to that hospital as well, but have been handed over from the Red Cross to the Israeli military. We're waiting. We don't know the schedule. Obviously, very fluid situation, but it is planned for President Trump to address Israel's Knesset, and there's a live stream you and I are monitoring, so we can bring the audio from that speech if it happens during our live coverage. Very interesting note here. Who was it that reported? I think it was CNN reported, because I had seen some red hats that people were wearing there in the room where everyone is waiting for President Trump to address them. And I was wondering, are those MAGA hats? And what it says is Trump is the peace president. So several people that are there are wearing those hats that look a lot like MAGA hats. And that's Trump, the peace president. Again, people waiting for President Trump to address the Israeli parliament wearing those hats. There is a great celebration in Israel right now, a very emotional celebration on the beach. As Air Force One was arriving, you could see this tribute to Trump written out on this beach. It was, again,
with the outline of his face.
That's what I noticed, which has really become his logo.
I know.
With the outline of his face and everything, and it's,
Do you know where I remember seeing it the first time? Remember when he was considering buying the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah.
And have you ever seen the Bills logo? It's like almost a leaping buffalo, and the buffaloes, and they trace Trump's face over the buffalo's face like that. That was the first time I'd ever seen that outline, and it was hilarious. And that goes back over 10 years ago.
Wow.
But just some other news here. Trump and the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu discussed the possibility of the Israeli leader now joining the summit in Egypt later today. Apparently, he wasn't originally scheduled to be there. But according to two Israeli sources and a person familiar with the planning, sources say Netanyahu is now considering attending the summit, where leaders from more than 20 countries will join a summit on Gaza's future. The White House declined to comment on it to CNN. Oh, so they're there.
Yeah.
Somebody's there at the White House answering questions because they declined to comment, which means they got somebody there at the White House.
Yeah.
Or did they just call the traveling White House?
Yeah, maybe.
Over in Israel. Other news here, a CNN team has been to the occupied West Bank, close to the prison where Israel is prepared to release some of the 250 Palestinian prisoners serving life sentences in accordance with the ceasefire deal. The timing of the eventual release of the prisoners is unknown. CNN witnessed a copter flying overhead, which dropped leaflets reading, "We are watching you everywhere," and warning onlookers against expressing any support or affiliation with a terrorist organization. The leaflets also had a large illustration of an eye in the center alongside images of drones. Israeli security also fired 2 stun gun grenades outside the prison. Other prisoners and detainees who have been held in Israel without charge are set to be released from the prison in southern Israel and either be transferred to Gaza or deported to Egypt. And so those two things are, I think there's like over 1,900 of those Gazans. Those were, for example, I think if you're fighting and they catch you against Israel, that's where you win.
Right.
At that point, sort of, I guess those would be were you technically a prisoner of war? I don't know what the official status was on that. To be interesting to see what legally that was. But when you think about what this day is, it's still, when you're covering it, you're in the process of covering it. But just for myself, just thinking how long, going back half a century, and you think about the Iranian hostage crisis and all the way up to where we are now. And we talked about the process of, and asked the question, there's something going on. Is it a temporary evolution? Is it going to be a permanent? That's still to be seen. But we have seen things that are just unprecedented, from the taking out of Iran's nuclear capability with no protesting, no major protest around the world or even the United States. You didn't see.
In fact, Benjamin Netanyahu's home and offices, for the first time today, no protesters out front. You think about what's going on. Worldwide, the protest has been worldwide. And what you're seeing right now, I guess a few radicals could still deny it and I don't know, somehow blame Trump. But this is much different than what you and I and people that have, again, been following the Middle East for so many years, what we have seen before, because the approach is different. And each president has their own tactic, right? As a person, this president knows you've got to build some kind of incentive and but also some kind of enforcement mechanism. And those contingencies have to be in play. I think he's demonstrated, as well as any president could, maybe better, that if you don't take it seriously, I'll demonstrate what can happen. The killing of Soleimani, the bombing of Iran's nuclear facility. Those are things that weren't campaign promises, and also those weren't Trump playing tough guy. If you think of approaches if you don't do this, we're coming after you or whatever. Well, behind the scenes, Trump had a little bit of that. There was some of that back and forth with Hamas recently. Do this or else. But behind the scenes, what is he building? He's building out a plan that basically carves Hamas, and as a proxy of Iran, you have to include Iran, out as the pariahs, and everybody else is on the other side. I have been saying for over 2 years now, after October 7th, the radicals are on one side, on the other side is everybody else. And that was the approach that Trump took in putting this plan together. And that was, unless you're radical, that means you're with us, right? You want peace. You don't want this lasting war. You want prosperity.
Well, let's be blunt. This happened, and the lesson you learn is you don't enable the terrorists.
Exactly.
You don't provide money through back channels for terrorists.
For years.
If you wish to move forward, they need to know you're serious.
Yep.
Why did Hamas even get to this point?
Because Iran funded them, and we helped Iran.
No.
Let
me rephrase that. Why did Hamas get to the point of saying we'll do this ceasefire deal?
Oh,
because they know if they don't, the president has told Israel, go ahead. And I do think that, we've been critical of Witkoff when we were with Iran for some of the stuff there. But you take the combination of Witkoff and, who knows who gets more credit for it, him or Rubio. Because I said last week, I said, Marco Rubio is becoming a statesman. If he pulls this off and they continue, because what you're going to see today, the fact that you have this, and on the same day, he's flying to Egypt.
Yeah.
And I hope he gets Netanyahu there. Because if he is Netanyahu and 20 other countries from the Middle East, Prime Minister of England, President of France, all there. After today, that is unlike any imagery I have seen in the Middle East in my lifetime.
No.
And,
right.
and I'm trying to think in my father's lifetime, who will be 100 next year. Maybe there was I don't recall anything in history, like this particular moment. And if they can get, not only because I know it's not just Gaza. It's getting those Abraham Accords done with other nations.
Yeah.
And you think about it. You think about all those nations. You get everybody aboard from Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Qatar, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates are already aboard, by the way. I'm combining everybody together. Morocco, Indonesia, get Turkey in there. You get all these countries with peace deals with Israel. In essence, that's a peace deal with the United States. You haven't seen, that you can almost use the U word there.
Yeah.
A united narrative in the Middle East to have peace with Israel. I don't know if that happens, and if you get all these countries aboard and you take it to that next level, which I believe is going to happen, and I believe that was probably part of what, Trump did by extending not the offer to give Qatar a military base in the United States, as we were hearing Friday, but, training Qatari pilots at an American air base. Is that all part of pushing an Abraham Accord with Qatar now?
Right.
And if you could get all those things done, to me, if they move forward and they get in the next year announce Abraham Accords with all those different countries, with Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Indonesia and whoever, I forgot, I'm leaving one out there. and they get those things done.
Yeah.
That is the biggest movement in the Middle East since I've been alive. I know that.
Well,
and
yeah,
it's just
that's because that is, again, that kind of momentum. It takes a great deal, something massive, to reverse that kind of momentum once in play. And I think we're seeing this momentum already begin right now.
It's not the end of Islamic radicalism.
Nope.
But it is a huge battle win.
It's
a huge win.
Who accepts it globally? Who facilitates it? Who funds it? Who allows it to happen? Maybe encourages it, isn't directly involved in it, but all of that changes if this goes the direction it appears to be going.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by Howes Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
A look at this year's forecasted U.S. apple production indicates more apples expected to be harvested.
The apple crop is forecast at 11.5 billion pounds, according to the August USDA mass crop production report. The 2025 apple crop marks the third season in the last decade that annual production exceeded 11 billion pounds based on 7 mass surveyed states.
And USDA research economist Catherine Weber says if those forecasts hold up, apple production will be up 6% year over year, but similar to production numbers from 2023.
In Washington, the largest apple producing state, the crop is forecast to be 8 billion pounds, 7% higher or 520 million pounds more than last year. If realized, the 2025 apple crop would be the largest in Washington history.
By variety, Gala and Delicious remain the tops in annual production, but this season sees Honeycrisp production moving into third place among apple varieties produced by volume. I'm Ron Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. In extended breaking news here, all 20 hostages have been released by Hamas, now all under Israeli control. I just found this piece of audio. In fact, it's a video that I'm watching here, and it's really quite impressive. And it's thousands of Israelis, and this must be the first, because it's a couple of hours old, and I just saw it. Must be the first 7 Israeli hostages that were released heading down a road, and there's just thousands of Israeli flags and people out waving the flags and screaming.
Uriel!
Really impressive.
Yeah. It's the emotion. You can just feel this emotion or see this emotion as you're watching on, and there's countless sources. This is a global breaking news that we're covering here. But I can't imagine being these families here, having a loved one, not knowing if they'll ever come home, and then being able to embrace them again, being able to see them again. Certainly keeping the families of those who did not return home in your prayers. But it is quite the emotional day, and it is far from over. Still more work to be done.
On our website, RedEyeRadioshow.com. Show info with stations, podcasts, and more. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Extended breaking news coverage of the hostage release. All 20, in case you're just waking up right now, all 20 living hostages are now out of the hands of Hamas, and now are all back in Israel.
Yes.
They're all back in Israel. 7 were released earlier this morning, and here in the last, probably about 90 minutes, the other 13 were released.
Mm-hmm.
We now know also that 250 of the prisoners that have life sentences are in the process of being released, as are the other 1,900 Gazans that were taken during the war. What's going to happen now? And I did see that Katie Pavlich from Fox News wrote, from what she heard, Netanyahu is going with Trump to Egypt to be part of the, it would be now, I guess, 23-nation coalition.
Wow.
That will be there to watch him sign the peace deal. One of the things that you and I talked about before, and Trump has been really, really big on this, and we've talked about this just in general, that it came across initially when Trump would promote something like this, that, hey, those other countries need to take care of their responsibilities, right?
Yeah.
With NATO, right. You need to pay more.
Right.
And you and I noticed this with NATO here, especially in his second term, where it's not just about you taking responsibility, but you taking control. It's not about you just paying your fair share for NATO, but you start taking care of your section of the world. We're in it together. We know we're the big dog. We understand that. And we'll be there to back you up. But you need, it's not just about, I'm not just telling you that you need to pay up. I'm telling you that if you pay up and do it, then you have authority. I want you to have more authority, but I don't want you to have authority unless you've got skin in the game. And you see the same thing going on here. Trump isn't saying I did this alone.
Right.
Even with the whole Nobel Peace Prize over the weekend, he was sort of, whatever. It's like,
right.
Yeah. I don't think when people say he's doing it for the Nobel Peace Prize, I don't think so. Would he accept it? Yeah, I'm sure he would. You and I, again, this is a cynic of us. This is the cynic. Why, even while watching all this, we're like, okay, is it going to go anywhere? Is it going to go anywhere? And that's why we look and say, well, let's look at the peace deal. What does the peace deal have? Let's tear it apart. Does it give Hamas an out?
Right.
And it doesn't. It doesn't. And if the president sticks to it, well, then hopefully we can move further. But as he has said, he's got a ton of other countries involved in it. Now, he has the final say, but they've agreed to that.
Yeah, I mean,
they've all agreed. We're going to do our part. We're going to get this thing. We're going to get the peace. We agree with the president on the 20-point plan. Remember, they agree with him on the 20-point plan. They understand what it takes to get peace, and Hamas has to be gone. I was seeing where the French president was saying, well, he needs to get together with the Palestinian Authority, and then the critics were like, but the Palestinian Authority is Hamas. Well, in the 20-point deal, the new Palestinian Authority would not be under Hamas.
Right.
That's the key.
Right.
Because that's the same thing that you and I have said all along.
And I'm guessing their press releases will change.
Well, yes,
because,
I guess so.
I mean, one of the things we've talked about over the years, or over this, especially during this war, is the leadership in Gaza has said, the Gaza Health Ministry has said, it's like, well, wait a minute. This is all coming from Hamas. Take Hamas out of the equation. And that's one thing when you look at Macron, when you look at Britain, when you look at the other players here and the other Arab nations. Okay, if you want a peaceful coexistence, that's fine. it cannot include Hamas. Period. So everybody jump in and we'll all make it happen together. Part of the breaking news this morning, a few minutes ago, it was announced buses carrying freed Palestinian security prisoners have begun leaving the Ofer prison after the last of the living hostages were transferred to the IDF after reports that the prisoners would only be released once bodies of slain hostages are handed over by Hamas. An IDF spokeswoman tells the Times of Israel that it was decided the prisoners will go free following the living hostages' return. That's from the Times of Israel just a few minutes ago. So that exchange has begun. They do say that the remains of the other hostages would be returned later today. We don't have any timeline on that. Trump and Netanyahu are meeting with the families of the and the survivors in the Knesset. Now, this is the families of the hostages, and I don't know if we have any live feed from that or not. We were waiting for President Trump to address the Knesset, the parliament there in Israel, but we believe, again, of course, it would make sense that meeting with the families first would take priority.
He may not, in our remaining time here, we may not be able to get, even if he gets on, we're not going to be able to get probably the full speech, but I don't see that. Let me just check at the moment. The video feed from the Knesset. Hang on one second here. No, still doesn't look like they're ready yet.
Yeah.
But I did, Katie Pavlich's been following her on Fox News. I guess some of the text is out of what he's going to say in his speech. Mm-hmm. Here's part of what he's going to say, quote, "It should now be clear to everyone throughout this reason that decades of fomenting terrorism and extremism, jihadism and anti-Semitism have not worked. They have backfired completely and totally. From Gaza to Iran, those bitter hatreds have delivered nothing but misery, suffering, and failure." End of quote. Part of what the president is going to say when he does speak. And now with the substance of what was done today, this is only the beginning of it, but the substance followed by the imagery. We've often talked about, that liberalism is, I think Rush used to say it, imagery over substance, right?
Right, yeah.
Well, what is the best thing you can have out there is imagery based on substance.
Yeah, right.
And you get that today, and, just the pictures that will be taken, the video that will be taken. I don't know how they're going to set it up, but if you have Trump signing it and the world leaders all behind him, 22 world leaders, including significant amount of Middle East world leaders.
Yeah.
That's nothing like I've seen in my lifetime. Nothing else matches to it. You could always look at anything that we were involved in any type of, a lot of times of peace deals, and sat there and went, okay, but we're still not closing the door on the problem.
Mm-hmm.
This peace deal, the way the 20-point plan, not the one signed today, this is just part one, but the 20-point plan, which the president is insisting on. And the one thing is maybe some things can be negotiated, but Hamas having any type of leadership role or even existing in Gaza is unacceptable, and he has the final call on that.
Right.
We'll see how that turns out. And because it's going to be the day-to-day rebuilding the infrastructure and rebuilding the government in that team process, which will be France, other Middle Eastern countries, Tony Blair, and under the board that's headed by the president. It seems like to get this far and understand. Have you heard anybody push and say, well, maybe Hamas deserves to have a role from any country?
Gary, we're seeing inside the Knesset now, we are seeing Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, Mike Huckabee come in and sit down. I know that the members of Parliament there have also taken their seats, so we're watching this. It appears we are just moments away from the President Trump, addressing Parliament there in Israel, in the Knesset, and we were told that he and the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu were meeting with families there.
Well, let's take a quick break.
Chambers.
Let's take a quick break because
let's
maybe we
do that.
can come
we'll
back
go to break now
and have a little bit longer at the end in case the president does start speaking.
We'll do that now. We'll be right back.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Extended breaking news coverage of the hostage release, the hostages being released from Hamas. All the living hostages are out. In the background, you're hearing the Knesset. It looks like probably he may not be speaking. You thought maybe till the top of the hour to catch newscasts over there or
knowing
whatever.
that the news cycles and newscasts, and how those newscasts run and when they do, they're very deliberate sometimes about starting an event like this. But we are expecting President Trump any moment now to address the members of Parliament. Ivanka Trump arrived a few minutes ago and received some applause there. Marco Rubio was there. CIA Director John Ratcliffe is there. Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, is also there. Mike Huckabee, who is also to be commended with his involvement in this as ambassador to Israel, is there. So now just waiting for, and I kind of, as we're watching this live stream of the Knesset, we kind of knew they were expecting the president to arrive any moment now as people started taking their seats. But I think that arrival was really kind of the arrival of the U.S. Officials. And now, at any moment, the president will step in and he will be addressing Parliament there in Israel. And it's only part of his day, as he is on to an international meeting in Egypt later today.
It's where they will he'll officially sign the peace deal with nations around him. The update to that is that Netanyahu, who apparently originally wasn't going to go with him, is planning on going with him to sign the peace deal.
Yeah.
It was interesting because when Ivanka Trump, we were watching her, up in the crowd in the balcony of the Knesset, and all of a sudden when she moved down to the first row, it's like they discovered her. Somebody realized it was her, and the applause started. Then it started getting a little louder.
Now here we have it. Now the video shows at the door to the entrance. We have Benjamin Netanyahu and President Trump. As it appears, they are now entering the hall there at the Knesset to start the address by President Trump to Parliament there in Israel. Again, all 20 living hostages, are back in Israel now. They are, you can't say they're home, but they're certainly in their home country. They are being treated medically and mentally at a hospital, a military hospital there in Israel, and reuniting with their families. And it has been quite the emotional day. Members of Parliament now on their feet. President Trump, Benjamin Netanyahu approaching now the podium. You can hear the applause, the celebration. Wow. Wow. Amazing. All of our great affiliates will be following this story throughout the day, and just an amazing day in international history. And it will continue. More work to be done, as we mentioned, the meeting, international meeting in Egypt, and much, much more. But what a great accomplishment so far by President Trump and those involved.
A great day for the world and the United States and Israel.
That is for sure.
And the Middle East.